Okay, this is going to be the translation review for Unit 4. It's on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. This is where we discuss what happens if someone has the ability to get out of something bad happening to them and they let it happen. Is the person who put them in that position chayav or patur? We talk about it in terms of murder and in terms of their possessions being damaged, and we see the halacha is different for the two. Rabba has another case. Hiniach lo gachelet ali bo v'meit. If he placed a coal on his heart and he died, meaning if one person placed a coal on the heart of somebody else, v'meit, and the person died, patur, the person who placed the coal there is patur. Al bigdo, let's say he put it on a pile of the person's clothing, vinisraf, and it burns the clothing, chayav. Then the person who put the coal there is chayav. So again, if the person has the coal on their heart and they just let it sit there and it kills them, then the person who put the coal there is patur. But if the person put it on a pile of the person's clothing and the person sits there and says, I'm just going to let it burn, then the person who put the coal there is chayav. Okay, and we discuss why that was. We'll discuss why that is. I'm sorry. So now we have proof for these two. So Rava comes along and proves Rabba, his Rebbe, his halacha to be proven to be correct. How does that true? Amar Rava Tarvayu. Both of these tanini can be proven from Mishnayot. Both meaning the first case and the second case. That you're chayav, you're patur in the heart case on the heart, and you're chayav for the destruction. Alibo, how do we know that on his heart? Meaning that if you put a coal on somebody's heart and it kills them, and they let it burn, let it kill them, that the person who put the coal there is patur. Ditnan, as it says in the Mishnah, the dal is the proof letter. Ditnan, as it says in the Mishnah, kavash la v'tocha ur u'l'tocha mayim. If you trapped somebody under in a fire or underwater, ve'eino, they could not yachol alot misham. They couldn't get out of there. Yachol able la'alot to go up misham from there. V'amed, and they die. Chayav, you're chayav. Obviously, you're chayav for doing it to them because they couldn't get out of it. So you drown them and you put them in a fire they couldn't get out of. Obviously, you're a murderer. However, dachfu, if you push them latocha or in a fire or latocha mayim or into water, v'yachol alot misham, and they could get out of it. They could reasonably get out of it. V'amed, yet they die, meaning they're in the fire and they don't try to escape, or they're in the water, they don't try to escape, and they easily could, then patur, you're patur. Why are you patur? So you're patur because they let themselves die. You can't call somebody a murderer. Murder is based on whether you can be considered the main cause of the murder. You can't be considered the main cause of the murder if the person actually let it happen to them. So that's the proof for the first halacha of Rabbah from this Mishnah. Big dough, how do I know on his clothing? Meaning, how do I know that Rabbah is correct? That if you put coal on his clothing, he lets the clothing burn, that the person who put the coal is chayav. The Tanan, as it says in the Mishnah, the following. If someone says, Krak suti, rip my clothing, shaver et kadi, or break my kad, my jar, and you do so, you listen to them, chayav, you have to pay. So we see here that if someone lets you damage something of theirs, but you do it, you still chayav to pay because you did an act of damage, whether or not they let you. So similarly, in our case, if you put a coal on someone's clothing and they let it burn, so again, they're letting it happen, still you're chayav because the bottom line is you did an act of damage. However, al menat liftor, if it's on the condition that you're bipatur, I mean, he says, rip my clothing or break my jar, and don't worry, you'll be patur, then of course patur. Even though you did an act of damage, by them saying, don't worry, you'll be patur, that's them forfeiting the payment for the damage. So just as a quick recap, so again we have the two halachot of Rabbah, coal on someone's heart and they let it kill them, the person put his patur. But if you put it on their possessions and they let it burn, then the person who puts the coal is chayav. Rava says we have Mishnayot to prove both, and then he first quotes the Mishnah that proves that Rabbah is correct about murder, and then the second Mishnah, the Tanan, that Rabbah is correct. All right, big do this now, right? That Rabbah is correct that when it comes to clothing, if someone lets you damage their items and you do so, you're still chayav, unless of course they say you'll be patur.